And so with about 6 minutes left, we had 170 some points. And I said, man, the holy grail of our system style is can you score 200? I mean, Paul Westhead even said, George, there's one thing I don't like about you. I said, what? He goes, you already scored 200. I said, oh, so
Welcome to the Jamodi Podcast, where we interview coaches and leaders to find out not just what they do, but how they do what they do. Becoming the best version of ourselves is Jamodi, just a matter of doing it.
Today we are joined by head men's basketball coach of Greenville University, George Barber. He is the longest tenured basketball coach in Greenville history and is the school's all-time leader in wins. In 2016, Coach Barber was named the Conference Coach of the Year, and his Panthers were regular season conference co-champions. Also that year, his Panthers led the nation all divisions in scoring at 114 points per game. On February 2nd, 2019, Greenville University beat a conference opponent 200-146, running the system. Before we hear from Coach, take a moment to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on social media at Jamodi Podcast.
What's up, Coach?
there we go. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Hear you loud and clear.
All right. Very good.
Man, first of all, thank you so much for making this happen and getting on with me. I know you've been super busy traveling and stuff, so I really appreciate this.
You're welcome, Matt. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, Cole Johnson is one of my best friends. He says hello.
Oh, yeah. Very good. Cole is also a great friend of mine and now a championship coach. So has he won 2 state championships?
Coach, so that's a sore subject for me because we're actually in the same district.
Okay.
We're rivals, but no, they won 2 years in a row, not this past year, but the two before. He had some really good players, but he's also a very good coach.
Yeah, and a great guy. And I think he teaches the kids character things as well,
Yeah.
So I always say if you're not going to be teaching some character traits and, characteristics as well as basketball, I mean, you might as well join the band or something because there's so many. Kobe Bryant said it best. He said, basketball has a shelf life.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you expire. Like at some point, you will not be able to play, or at least competitively, you'll have to go to the men's league at the church or something. But but he said the lessons you learn in basketball never expire. So I really like that. I wish more they would play that clip more. Have you ever seen that clip?
I haven't, but I'm going to look it up for sure.
Yeah. So the things that we're learning, I'm sure that you're teaching, and the things that Cole is teaching are things that, go with these kids for life. And so I think that's really important.
As far as my list of guys that I'd love to learn from and have just a conversation with, you're up near the top. Well, one of the reasons is, and I love the system.
Okay.
And so, Brian, just to let you know, you're speaking to somebody. So like all my books right up here are no. They're, I don't know if you can see the title, but they're system books. And
wow.
So I've been with either Westhead or Arsenal and then you and everything that you've been able to do with it. But then Cole speaks so highly of you. So this is just a treat for me. But what we're doing is we're using Zoom and when I'm going to launch, that sounds silly, but put my first episode out there with Coach Scott Drew. I played for Coach Drew my senior year at Baylor. I played for Bliss for my first 3 years. So
wow.
I was a part of the dark times there, but an incredible story with Coach Drew coming in. So he's going to be my first guy that I put out there,
absolutely
national champion, whatever. But
I'm honored to be in that same company with Coach Drew. I did coach Bryce when he went to the USA team in 1998. Jim Molinari was the head coach, and Bryce was on his team. So I think I probably met Scott then.
Yeah.
And I met Homer. But and then Dave Bliss was actually on that coaching staff. I was not really a coach. I was a manager. I was an assistant coach at Bradley, but I was brought onto the USA team as a manager. And Coach Bliss was the assistant coach with Jim Molinari. And I was just shocked at all the stuff that happened.
Yeah.
But the recovery from what was that, like 2001, 2000 and
Well, yeah. So I played for Bliss for 3 years, and I loved playing for him. I
yeah.
mean, he was
What,
tough.
what year? What year did he leave
So
and Scott came in?
2000 to 2003 is when I was there with Bliss. I was a part of his first recruiting class there, and then Coach Drew came 2003, 4 when that summer everything happened and we lost 10 teammates. We only had 6 scholarship players, and then here comes 32-year-old Scott Drew through the door. And to think 18 years later, they're
18.
national champs. It's incredible.
It is incredible. Yeah. And I think it's maybe more like 20, but it's 18. And that is an incredible story. And it was a tragic story. Is Coach Bliss doing okay? Is he still coaching, or is he working in athletics in any way?
Well, I don't know if you saw he had it was probably about 10 years ago. He started to resurface in a way and doing some coaching clinics and really looked like he was taking, like all of us when we screw up, we take those stories and then we try to see God's plan through it and see and connect the dots a little bit, but try to help other people. He was doing that. And then about 3 years ago, a Showtime movie called Disgraced came out, and they had actually, because and I'd love to send it to you, not for anything else, but just I think you like basketball. I know you love basketball, but the story. But I wrote a book about our season that year of we were 8-21, but it was incredibly successful with 6 guys. But I thought that they were asking me to talk about that. And so when I come in and they're filming and stuff, I realized that 2 hours in, this is all about that summer. This is all about the bad stuff. Right. And then my wife and I are watching it, and he has a moment on there where it's just chilling. He doesn't think the cameras are on, and he is saying stuff that no coach should ever say about a dead player. And it was that day it was a Friday, he got fired the following Monday. And I haven't heard.
Where was he coaching at then?
It was I think at NAIA school in Oklahoma. I'm guessing about that, but he had been at the high school ranks for a little bit. He had been even in maybe a semi-pro role, but then he got back into college, but I haven't heard from him since.
Yeah, the media is just brutal. They can take stuff and like you said, you don't know a hot mic, or they'll take a situation that you think is pretty benign, but they make it really bad. So I'm sorry to hear that. Coach Bliss was very nice to me. I always had funny Bobby Knight stories.
That's the thing. He was a polished Bobby Knight. He could in front of a camera, he could sound great. But him and I had a close relationship. Used to go to FCAs together, and so it was a lot, man, back then. But Coach Drew, you can see his culture of joy that he has now. The foundation pieces of it were there, back in the day. But
do you know anybody with the volleyball program currently?
No, I don't.
Okay, my buddy has a daughter who is Kraus is her name. I think her first name is Kelly, but she's an assistant, and she just speaks so highly of Coach Drew and his faith and how he walks out his faith on the court with the players. So from everything that I can tell, and then the fact that they won, this is a great story, wonderful story. So
what's funny is he's so authenticity is inspiring. Yeah, and I get that feeling from you, because I've actually watched like a bunch of your interviews, the 200-point game, obviously, and all that stuff. I might try to find a way to get to talk about that with you, but authenticity. And so, but the way that he is with his joy and kind of a corniness to him, it comes off as if it's fake. But what I've seen from the last 18 years is that's just who he is, and he's the real deal. But his faith is a big piece of what he does. And, Baylor's special because they're able to have faith be a part of it without any type of pressure or repercussions of any kind. And so it's a perfect place for him.
Right. That's awesome. I'm so glad to hear, and so glad that he's built it the way he has. And I think they'll still be good for a little while, right? I mean,
they're just the recruiting machine is just rolling now. And so, why go to Waco? Well, I don't know if I can become an NBA player there. Yeah, you can. And, and you can. So It's going to happen. Coaches, the Jamodi podcast is powered by Biology. What's your BSA score? The Biology Skill Assessment is the only verified skills metric endorsed by the NIA and NJCAA to discover and develop the best talent for your team. This 10-minute, 100-shot test can be taken for free today on the Biology mobile app. Elevate your game. What's one thing that makes your program different?
Well, one of the things you talk about having mentors. When in about 2007, I was going to visit. I always visit a coach prior to the season. I try to. I don't always, but I always try to visit a coach. If I was one year, I would call like Gene Katie, at Purdue, and say, Coach, hey, can I come to a couple of practices or come to a practice and just pick your brain? And so this particular year, 2007. I was going to visit Jim O'Brien, who was the head coach of the Pacers at the time. And he was our associate head coach at University of Kentucky with Pitino. And so I kept calling 2-3 times Jim, and he's like my mentor. And I couldn't get a call back. It was really kind of weird. So I pivoted and I called a football guy, Frosty Westerling, who coached football out on the West Coast at Pacific Lutheran. And it's a very small school, similar to Greenville. And Frosty had won like 4 national championships. They were NAIA 2, and then he won 2 NCAA. And he had written a book called The Strange Secret of the Big Time and Make the Big Time Where You Are. And so when I couldn't get Coach O'Brien, so I called Frosty. Frosty literally picks up the phone. I said, Coach, I didn't expect to speak to you, but I said, I'm really like your book, Make the Big Time Where You Are. And so could I come out and visit your program? I'm going to do football this year. I'm going to visit a football program instead of a basketball program. And he said, oh yeah, come on out, stay with me. I mean, he was very kind. I ended up staying with one of his former players, but it literally changed. So you asked like, what's different about our program? That's the first thing is where we talk about, we have these lessons called the big time lessons, and we make the big time where you are, which is something that Frosty coined. But it's all about me versus me and living in the window room and not the mirror room and making a greater individual commitment. So you talk about Scott with some of these things that almost seem corny. These Frosty things almost seem corny, but they're like, it's you're competing against your own best self. He calls it red car, blue car. If the red car is you have to be number one or you're no one, the blue car is give it your best shot. And most people in today's competitive arena are driving the red car. They want to, if you don't win it all, there's so much pressure to win, and the culture puts the pressure on there that you think you're competing against everybody else. And Frosty would say, no, we don't want that model. We want to compete against our own best selves. So that's the first thing that's different. The other thing, obviously, is how we play, which is just absolutely insane, crazy, fast, press, risky, press the entire game, send 4 guys to the offensive board. And so you take this, give it your best shot, and you combine it with let's play a very unique style where we're playing. It's basically a massive experiment in how good you could be playing with freedom, and so that's a Westhead principle, like just rip the rear view mirror off, play with freedom, sub quickly, take risk, praise risk. And I don't know if you have the book, The System, behind you, written by Gary Smith and
it's there.
So those guys, see, they're the same way. Like they have the same philosophy of, praising risk, even if you failed, to not let players play tight. And so we also play more players. So we play, everything's double. We play double the amount of players. We score double the amount of points. Unfortunately, there are double the amount of fouls. But everything's double in our game. So those are things that are unique and different. And we're really comfortable with that. So, and sort of the verse that goes with that is Romans 12:2, which is, don't copy the behaviors and customs of the world, but instead let let God inform your thinking, and then you'll learn to know his will for you, which is good and pleasing and perfect. So we want to do that with our philosophy culture, and we want to do that with our basketball culture, and combined together, it's just a really unique program. It's just unique. So
I do definitely want to get into that idea of freedom, because I know just with your style of play, but also the way that you coach and believe. I want to talk about that more. One thing you said is about that book. I'm going to check it out, but I'm at a small Christian private school here in Dallas, Fort Worth. And so the idea is, how do I stay focused on this place, this job, these guys, and not the temptation to look for what's next, what's bigger, what's better. You've been at your school for a long time, and you started at Kentucky, like, so how has that journey been for you, being great at where you are?
Right. So that is a great question. Here's the deal. I'll give you a little context. I love history and I love context. In our nation, in the history of the world, only in modern history, meaning the last century or so, have you been able to be broadcast in a wider region than just where you're at. So, I tell kids that are in drama, for example, I have a son who loves to do drama. I have another son who enjoys rapping. He writes raps. They're very good. Most of them Christian lyrics, but he enjoys that. And so, the pressure would be to get to Broadway, or make an album, sign with a big label. But I tell them that's not what it's about. It's about blessing your community. So if you have talent and you go to what's the name of your school that you're at right now?
Grapevine Faith.
Grapevine Faith. So if you're at Grapevine Faith, and this was what Frosty would say, make it special. Make it special where you're at, because it's special for the people that are there. It's special for the people that get to watch your team play. And not until recent modern history were you broadcast on TV or social media or even in the newspaper. You literally had your small community, and if you had a good voice, well, you sang in the choir, or if you were an actor, you did you did a play for your community, and it blessed that community. And so now it's more widely broadcast. But I would just say that this idea of making it what we call the big time where you are is really all of history. That's what we've done. And so only modern times, only the social media pressure, only the TV, the movies have made these young people, and all of us, our generation, just go a little nuts thinking it's never enough. It's never enough. And I don't think that's the way the Lord wants us to think. And I think that that's probably why we have more depression today. We have more anxiety, mental illnesses, is we compare, and we're never gonna stack up.
Yeah.
But if we say, how good can I be? How special can I make my program? Then you can relax and say, this is, I'm giving it my best shot. I'm getting in the gym, my hour a day, and we're practicing a couple hours a day, and we're learning to love each other. And we're giving it our best shot.
Yeah. Instead of find meaning in the place where you're at, instead of thinking there's bigger meaning at another school, in another program, in another situation.
That's right.
I think
starting at Kentucky. I really started at Asbury, where it was NAIA school, small Christian college. The Lord blessed me, and I believe the Lord sees us and he cares about us. And when we cast our cares on him, it says in 1 Peter that he sees us and cares about us. So I wanted to coach, and I applied to probably 30 places, got serious with 5. And I couldn't believe it. I got a position at Kentucky, and it was a long time. I mean, I worked with Eddie Sutton. We got in trouble. We got released. I came back a couple years later with Patino, got on his staff. We won a national championship. So that's like a dream come true for a little kid from Asbury, a small Christian college. But Coach Patino always said to me, George, like, you really care about people, and you're getting a doctorate degree. Maybe you should consider going back to where you came from. Like, in other words, that's probably a good fit for you. And once or twice I had interviews to go to maybe bigger schools after I'd been here. And I even called Coach O'Brien and I said, Coach, I really want to work in the NBA. Let me just take a sabbatical or go back into Division I. I have an opportunity. He would get so frustrated with me. He'd say, George, you have 5 kids. He said, you and I both know what it's like at Division I. You can have such more influence where you're at and change people's lives. My best years were at Wheeling Jesuit, he would say. And I was there for 7 years. Now I've been head coach of 4 NBA teams. My best time ever was the 7 years at Wheeling Jesuit. So he would always talk me out of even considering making a move because, of his experience. And he just felt like, and I'm telling you what, there are NBA general managers that would say to me, I would take places with you right now. Like, I would love to be where you're at. And I know where I'm at's glamorous, and I know I make, a lot of money and you don't make much. I would still trade you right now. And so that makes me think, yeah, it's really valuable, to make something special out of wherever you're at, wherever you're at.
Thank you for that reminder. I think I need to hear that a lot. And because those pressures and everything and you're right, social media can be used for good and to inspire people and help people. But more often than not, comparison is the thief of all joy. And I just happen to give my joy away.
Yeah. And, I read a friend on Facebook. He recently went through a divorce, and he said, this year is going to be the year of me. I thought, this is going to be a disaster. Like, it's probably partially why you're at where you're at, where your life is falling apart. And if you would say this year is going to be the year of others, I go, you're going to dig out. You're going to start fresh. It's going to be a great year. But if you say this is going to be the year of me, I'm going, you're going to be miserable. You're going to be miserable the whole time. Now, I didn't write him. I didn't, text him back and say, hey, you're thinking in the wrong direction. But he'll figure that out. But that's the message we need to give the young people is if you start thinking about others and giving your life to others, you're going to actually have some good years, and you're going to have some good teams and, that kind of stuff. So
the Jamodi podcast is powered by Sideline Interactive. Sideline Interactive is the leading manufacturer for high-quality, innovative scoring tables and LED video display boards that help coaches and schools bring more excitement to fans, create huge fundraising opportunities, and make their jobs easier. Visit sidelineinteractive.com to check out their amazing products. You mentioned freedom a little bit ago, and I think we play a running and gunning style here where we really value shooting threes and playing fast basketball. The biggest thing I've learned is just how much I have to give up control in those moments for that to happen. Right. But you talk about freedom, and what are some ideas behind freedom and how you get your guys playing that way?
Right. So again, it comes down to what Gary Smith taught me. So Gary, I said, when I decided to go with the system, I said, can I fly you in? And he said, why are you going to fly me in? I said, because I got to know how hard we got to play on defense and pressing. And he said, that's a good answer. Yes, you can fly me in. I'll spend a week with you. He was retired. And so he came in, we had a great time. We went fishing and he helped at practice. But he basically said, George, if you're going to ask these kids to take a risk and, shoot a gap and try to get a steal, then you got to praise them for that, even if they don't make the steal and they get a layup behind them. Like you can't give them a double message. Even Paul Westhead said, I went out and spent time with him
Oh, wow.
on the West Coast. Yeah, about a year and a half ago, right before the pandemic hit. So maybe a
Yeah.
year. And Paul said, Coach Westhead said, he had Hank Gathers, and he was
Bo Kimball. Yeah.
yeah, and Bo Kimball, those guys, and he was having the kids face guard everybody all over the court. And when an assistant came to him and said, Coach, if we could just get him to come off of his man and play a little help side, we could stop that layup from happening. So he says, okay, and he told Hank, he said, come off your man. I know I have your face guard. Come off your man, but I want you to play help side and see if you can stop this layup. And Hank did it. And of course, the guy kicks out and he hits a 2 or 3, whatever at that point. And he said, I got frustrated and I called him over and he said, Coach, I can do one thing. So I can either face guard like you're asking me to do and go for steals, not let him catch the ball. If the ball's thrown to him, get a steal, or I can play help side. But I can't do both. I cannot do both. It's the philosophy is either a risk-taking philosophy where we're going for steals, or a conservative philosophy where we're not allowing baskets. And he said, "You're absolutely right. I can't get you to do both. That's unfair for me to ask you to do that." And so the idea of playing with freedom and the idea of letting a kid make a decision has to be supported by praising him for making that decision. And even if he gets burned, if you're going to play fast and you're going to press and you're going to take risk and you're going to value steals. Patino used to always value deflections, so he was sort of maybe a little bit middle ground there.
Yeah.
If you get like 35 deflections in a game, you're going to win. We say if you turn them over 3 out of 10 possessions, we're going to win. So that means 5 of the other 7 or 6 of the other 7, they may even score layups. But we're going to keep praising them if they try to make the steal, if they go for the risk. And if we don't do that, then, it's double. We're teaching them to be double-minded, and they won't play with freedom. They'll play tight.
Yeah.
Play tight. Same thing with shot selection.
I'm so glad you said that, because it seems the same way. Every coach falls into that habit of, this is what I say I want, but when it doesn't happen, I'm upset for you trying to do what I say I want. And it just tightens people up. And go into shot selection. Okay, so shot selection. So shot selection is easy for us in this sense. I'll say, if the point guard throws you the ball from the back court to the front court, we want you to shoot it. Okay, so we think you're open enough to shoot it, and we're going to come with the other 4 guys, and as soon as the point guard can get there, to try to get your offensive rebound. But we want you, so we don't want to tell anybody you can't shoot. So everybody can shoot. But so the question is, well then, like the 20% 3-point shooter has the freedom to shoot just as much as the 40% 3-point shooter? The answer is yes, he does. Okay, but we chart, and obviously during games you have stats, who is the better 3-point shooter? So if you're on the court with a 40% 3-point shooter and an extra pass would get him the shot, then you would be deemed selfish not to do that. Right.
So that smokes you out. So we're going to give you the freedom. We're not going to say that's a bad shot. We're not going to call you out in front of the team. I might turn to the assistant and say, he's pressing. He's trying a little bit to make himself a better shooter. I'm not going to scold him. We may have to wait till tomorrow's practice to remind everybody, okay, in this shift on the floor, here's your 40% shooter. Here's your 35% shooter. Here's your 30% shooter. Here's your, 25 and 20. And so, we might reinforce that, and so we're not necessarily going to scold the 20% shooter, but he's got to know I'm there to rebound. I'm there to make forced turnovers. I'm there to be disruptive defensively. I'm there to maybe get the ball to the 45% shooter. But if I'm open and nobody's guarding me and we're playing, then I know I have the freedom to shoot. So I don't need to be uptight about it.
Right.
And that is a really critical point of playing in the system, is praising even failures if they try, and risk taking, and not scolding people who take shots, but being patient and trying to turn their heart to understand you want this guy shooting until you can get your shooting percentage up, and you can get it up, because we're going to shoot 200 threes in practice. And if you want to take the whole summer and work on your shot, it's going to go up. I mean,
right. There's way more incentive to work on your game.
We've had guys go from 20 to 40% over the course of their career, even over the course of a year or two. So it can improve, but until it improves, we still might put on the board your ranking among the team and then say, have at it, guys, have freedom. But, you got to know where you rank, and you kind of do it with a smile on your face, but you find a way to let that be known, but without scolding them or embarrassing them in front of the team.
But the key to that is tracking, because in practice, there's so many great shooting games. I'm going to ask you what your favorite one is in a little bit, but so many great shooting games. One we do is green, yellow, red shooting. And there's 9 spots, 4 minutes. So it's either shoot 90 or the 4-minute runs out. And I've got to the point where if they don't get to 90, I don't care what their make is, because they have to start with a level of speed, and then over that time, and then thinking the right way, the makes will come. But with that, and what we do is in front of everybody, we just go around. And when these guys start to hear, okay, I'm a 30, I'm a 35, which would be in that kind of yellow range, all quite a bit. This dude's at 60 every time. Right. All that is role identification daily, to where I'm kind of open, but like you just said, the one more is to a green light shooter. And then instead of celebrating the green light shooter, you celebrate the one more, the giving up of themselves. But coaches will hit their head against the wall all the time. Why aren't we shooting better shots? Or what about shot selection? But they don't have the daily conversations. Right. I think that's huge.
Yeah, charting is exactly the key. And oh boy, when you say, okay, we're putting our groups together of 3, and we're going to put a high, and a middle, and then a low percentage shooter together. The low percentage shooter, they always get their back up a little bit. They're like, but they know they're in that group and they're the low percentage shooter. And, so at that point, the coaches just say, hey, deal with it. I mean, stats. We chart you all the time, and you can get a little huffy about it, but that's where you're at.
But with your system, it's really whatever shooting role they have, it's completely up to them, because one, they're told that they are allowed to shoot, but then all they have to do is put in the time necessary. I get to talk with coaches from time to time about shooting, because we shoot a ton of threes here. But the one thing I say is, if you really want that engagement from all of your players, well, are you playing a style where they know that if they're open, they'll have a chance? Because if not, if your guy is just a screener, why in the world would he spend more time shooting if he doesn't believe he can break out of that mold? And that's where your style of play is. It's freeing.
It is free. And we encourage them to shoot more. And our bigs get a ton better shooting over the course of their career here, because they're allowed to. We want them to. And we have some guys that are very unselfish, and they know clearly, I'm not that good of a 3-point shooter, but I am a great offensive rebounder. So I am going to really pad my numbers and help the team, with my offensive rebounding. Yeah. And so they, it's like, it's not that they wouldn't dare shoot, but they just want to let somebody else, because it's just a better, it's a better deal. Yeah. Another weed that we have that I call it picking weeds. So you want to keep your garden clear of weeds. And so obviously if you let the weeds come up all over the place, you're overwhelmed, you can't do it. But a big weed that I don't want to grow in my garden is because we play players in short shifts. All right, so they have to come in and out real quickly. So I have to catch it early, but they'll say, I'm not tired. And we go, oh my goodness. So I pull that weed for about 2 or 3 days straight. And I say, wow, this guy, he came off, he said he's not tired. Like, how could that be? Like, there's no way. Like, he didn't play hard. Like, and all of his other teammates played hard. And I can't believe it. And then so, we'll quietly, that person either be pulled from the shift or we keep acknowledging that they said that they weren't tired until they go, oh, I totally get it. If I don't kill myself in the short time that I'm on the floor, that is my fault because I'm going right back in. And it's part of the system, it's part of the system style play. So anyways, that's another weed where a player will say, I'm not tired. And we go, no, that's on you. That's on you.
I believe, okay, this is my wife is she's gonna watch this and think, oh no, he's starting. Because I tried at the high school level, we tried to put this in a few years ago, and it's there's magic to it. And when you see the magic, it's hard to go back. And we had some players, football players come into the team. We had a culture, we had some players come in. We had some good players start to resent it. And I had a talk with my athletic director, and it was a very nice talk, but basically I had to go back to having more of what a normal person can go to the gym and see, okay, there's defense being played, even though I knew how hard we're working defensively. The goal's just different. But one thing I saw that was magical about playing that way, and take away the fear of if I miss a shot or make a mistake, I'm coming out. Take that away. Mm-hmm. Take away the fear of if I come out, I'll never get back in. Right. And in there lies the freest you can play in the most purest form of basketball that's out there. I agree. You gotta. I used to just tell my athletic director, like, they just can't see it. That's right. See it. It's hard to grasp.
That is really true. And I will say, let me make a couple comments on that. I had a kid he's a doctor now, and he is brilliant, and he was a great player. He's really athletic. But he was, I would call him a bundle of nerves. Like, he just was so nervous about making mistakes and, was this a good shot or bad shot? So literally his junior year was when we went to the system. And he had said, I don't think I'm going to like this because it's, it seems chaotic. And he was always all nervous and trying. So I said, Michael, you just need to go with it. And he played with such freedom and realized that I was not going to get on him for a mistake, and that, he would go right back in the game as soon as he was taken out. He was a very good player. And his game just exploded. I mean, he was just so good. And so the thing about it is it bubbles. He was never a selfish player, but it bubbles up to the surface, those that are selfish, really quick. And ultimately, the guys that say, I don't want to play the system, they're selfish.
It's a hard issue, no doubt.
It's a hard issue, right? Yep. And like, so if they say, I just can't do it, I need to be highlighted more, I need to be playing more, I need to be in more pick and roll or whatever situation they want to be in, ultimately what you're saying is, I just don't want to give to the team everything. Like, so I say, look, guys, I'm not asking for much, only every last drop of your blood. That's all I want.
Just everything.
Everything. And so, but if they can't do that, then this style of play forces that to surface. And unfortunately, I think in today's culture, and I mean, I don't want to get into this, but I think it's not even the kid.
Mm.
It's sometimes the parent. You know, the parent's like, nah, my kid needs this, my kid needs that. We have these expectations, we have these goals. And if my kid's not highlighted, you know, we don't want to be a part of it. And the kid would say, I love it. Like I am totally comfortable with it, but it's my parents, my dad, or my mom. It's just somebody's putting the pressure on me. So it's a culture.
We're averaging, we're 6-2. We're averaging 94 a game without a shot clock. And if you saw, we're a small, like I said, a small private school, so it's not like just crazy athletes running around. 15 dudes are playing. The bench is the livest I've ever seen it. More spirit than ever before.
Oh my goodness!
We scored 113 and won 113 to like 104 is the most fun game I've ever been a part of.
Yes,
but I got that response from, this isn't basketball and it won't translate to the next level.
Right.
And so yeah, it is. There's a lot of the gold and the magic again behind the system. It's just hard to grasp. Do you find, so you get to recruit guys that you feel like maybe when you meet with them, they would be on board with this?
Yeah, that's true. And of course I try to explain, it's hard to completely explain. And then players get here and 9 out of 10, or I would say 9.9 out of 10 would say, I absolutely love this. Like I went and visited Pete Carroll, the Seahawks coach, and I said, I heard you played music at practice. And he goes, yeah. And he makes everything competitive, and there's a lot of enthusiasm in his practice. You can kind of see that on the sidelines, the way he coaches. But we play music, practice is over, it's 2 hours, and the new kids will say, we're done? And I go, we're done. And they go, wow, that was like, this is the most fun I've ever had at practice. It didn't really stop. We kept moving. You had music playing part of the time. We got after it. We played hard. So, but what you're talking about is, I don't know what to tell. Like I talked to Josh Pastor a lot at Georgia Tech. He really likes the system, and he really is always thinking about, speeding up the game and maybe doing this. And he goes, do you think I could do it? And I said, I wouldn't do it, Josh, not at Georgia Tech. I mean, you got all those guards at Duke and UNC, they're very good. But the issue is, he's under contract. There's expectations. There's a lot of money involved. At the high school, like you said, there's just different expectations. And I'm literally at a spot where I'm a little bit removed from parents because they, I get kids from all over. And I'm not in this media pressurized, high profile, lucrative division. If I was in Division I, obviously that would be. Now, my former athletic director says, George, just at the end of your career, please go to like the worst team in America, and they haven't won 2 games a year for the last 10 years, and just take the system and just say you have nothing to lose, give it a shot. And so we always think, well, that would be fun.
If you do that, call me.
Okay.
And I'll see what Janet, with my wife, thinks.
Yeah.
That would be something incredible.
That'd be super fun. So, but you do have to have, it's the culture.
Yeah.
You go to these high school games, scores like 32-31 in the fourth quarter. Yeah, it's so bad. And both teams are playing zone. The kids aren't tired. The kids come, they haven't even sweated. They can't even go get a pizza after the game because they haven't expended themselves. And it is a tragedy because the whole reason the coaches played like that was to control the game and to win the game. And that was the highest value.
Yep.
And it's unfortunate. Young people have energy. Let's release it. Let's don't stifle it. So anyway.
So I got to ask, because you almost said it right there. I watched this a special about your program and some of the signs that you have in your locker room.
Yeah.
And there was one, talk about devalue winning, that sign. Yeah.
So it does. It says play with freedom, devalue winning. And what we mean is, we like, okay, so we played Illinois State this year. Bob Costas, his wife is an Illinois State graduate. And he saw the score of the game and we got killed. But he praised us because we played our style and we ran with Illinois State. We scored 108 points in their arena. And that's probably a record, especially a Division III against Division I.
Yeah.
But the idea of, you know, playing like this and playing differently is so countercultural. The whole culture, and part of it's the Western world, part of it's the Puritan work ethic. I don't know. You have to go really way back to see how we put so much emphasis on winning. I mean, Matt, you know, honestly, like if you say to me, such and such a coach cheated to win, I go, well, yeah. I mean, why wouldn't he? I mean, it's almost more important. It was like almost more important for Lance Armstrong to win 7 Tour de France's than, you know, he raised $5 million or $50 million. I don't know how much for cancer research. But then it came out that he cheated. So we go, oh, boo. But I go, no, that's you kind of forced him to do that.
Yeah.
Well, the whole culture forced him to do it. So this all-consuming desire to win has skewed athletics so much. We've lost the sportsmanship piece. We've lost the gentlemanship. We say that cheating is like gamesmanship, and it's not. That's such a bad thing. So, anyways, we're just going to go all in counterculture, and we're going to say de-emphasize the win. And it is hard. Like, I have to re-educate my kids from ESPN every night. You know, like they watch that. It's fun. We talk about it. It's fun for us to win, no doubt. But I have to, the proof is in losing, right? So we go down to the locker room and we go, this is something Frosty would say, hey, we lost, but we didn't lose. Everybody goes, what do you mean we lost, but we didn't lose? And you go, look at, we got better as a team. We did these good things. Let's find what's praiseworthy about tonight's performance. Now, if your attitude was bad, okay, we're going to have a conversation. If your effort was bad, we're going to have a conversation. But other than those two things, there's a lot of other things you couldn't control. Maybe they were bigger, stronger, faster. Maybe we didn't play well tonight. Maybe the ball didn't bounce our way. But overall, there are praiseworthy things from tonight's performance. And we're going to leave this locker room feeling good about ourselves, especially if our attitude and effort was good. And so if you put de-emphasize the win on the board downstairs and then you don't win, then you got to come back in the locker room and go, hey, what was great about tonight's game? And if you can't do that, then you can't put the sign up on the wall.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
It does. And I can see how that mentality helps with the freedom that you guys play with. But I think a misconception is that, okay, because we de-emphasize winning so freedom can flourish, or did I say it right?
Right.
Okay. Yeah. So because of that, well, then they just allow anything. Well,
right.
No, I mean, it still comes back to, okay, do you have the proper habits that'll give us the best chance to win?
Right.
Effort, attitude, communication, all those pieces. And but if those aren't in place, then okay, we have to address it. So I'm glad to hear it's not that you're saying it's not about this at all. What are all the good things? We never even go to that area of what coaching is, which is there's things we can improve.
Correct it. You got discipline. And so, for example, I will, there are only 2 reasons I will scold the team, and I will scold them, and I will get on them if their effort is bad, you know, because they can control that, or if their attitude's bad. So we had a player talk back to a coach right before we were playing Murray State, which is Division I. Obviously, John Morant was at our game, and he talked back to the coach in the huddle, an assistant, and I heard it. So I did not do X's and O's or anything that whole half except address that poor attitude of talking back to a coach. I mean, we may have done a few things X's and O's, but we're going to get killed. We're playing Murray State. They're Division One, we're Division Three. But but it doesn't matter. You can still control your attitude. And so there are times when you do have to scold the kids, but it always centers around lack of attitude or lack of effort. And those are two things that, and like you said, communication, all that, we can always improve that. We can ask for that, control that, but control, not control, control it, ask for it. But attitude and effort, they all know, coaches know. But here's the thing. Like when I was with Patino, he would come in and he would like give some crazy, challenge at the beginning of practice or before an individual instruction period. Like you got to get this many shots up, like a 500 or something. It was just like insane. Like there's no way. And so, you would all kind of walk out onto the court, kind of like shaking your head, like, I can't believe. But then you would do it. Like he was a real can-do guy. And you would actually accomplish it. And then you'd walk back into the locker room going, kind of smiling, shaking your head, going, we did it. Like, I can't believe it. And he believed in us that we could do that. And we actually could do it. So, people may see him or other coaches as these hothead coaches yelling at players, but it's really asking them to do what they probably didn't even think they could do, and then if you actually accomplish it, he was just a real can-do guy. You kind of smile and shake your head like, wow, and so when people walk out and they see our practice or they see a game or they see a score, they kind of walk out of the gym kind of with this wry smile on their face, like, that was insane.
Yeah.
That's fun. That's great. Yeah, of course it was insane. Yeah.
It's like our Senat before his games, it gets them in. Everybody, we're all huddled up before, and 99% of the programs in the country are going to say the same thing, what we need to do to win. And his thing was, hey, let's put on a show. Let's put on a show. And
I'll tell you what. So have you talked to Dave?
I actually had him. I did. I interviewed him, and it was incredible.
So so they're talking about the dad, the granddad, right?
Yep.
Okay. So he's a pioneer. Like he's like Westhead. Like these guys are like
they're geniuses in basketball. Yep.
That's right. And they're not like creative. Like they are pioneers. Like they're going where no one else is going. Like Arsenault sits on the other end of the bench. He's just completely different. So this is a clue when I was first starting this. I called Dave, he says, George, all access, whatever you need. And welcome to the dark side. I said, Dave, I'm not going to call it the dark side. I'm going to call it the resistance. Like we're fighting the dark side.
That's right.
He said, okay, that's cool. So he goes, I go, Dave, you're close to me. I'm coming up to watch your game. We're going to finish practice early. I want to see you play this game. So he's playing up at Illinois College, and he sees me up several rows behind the bench. He says, come down. So I go down on the floor. It's like 2-3 minutes before the game. He said, hey, man, you should have been at the game Saturday. He goes, we were up 28 in the second half, and we lost in spectacular fashion. He goes, can you imagine being on the other team? He goes, that had to be the highlight of the career for those other kids. And I thought, okay, I get it. This guy is certifiably crazy. And if he can say something like that, that's what allows him to do this. And that's what I got to say in my mind. Am I certifiably crazy? Can I do this? And I thought, I can do it. Yeah. Because if he can say we lost in spectacular fashion up 28, then his perspective is completely different from everybody else's.
Yeah.
And he's not going to change whether we win or lose. And I asked Gary Smith, I said, Gary, when's enough? Like, are we up 20 with 10 minutes to go? And he just looked at me and said, what? And I said, like, when do I pull off the system? He goes, you don't pull it off. You get 100 shots a game or whatever your goals are, 53s, force, 32 turnovers, grab 35% of the offensive rebounds, shoot the ball 25 more times than the opponent. And that's when enough is enough, no matter what the score is. So early on, we were playing a team that wasn't as good. And I said, you think you guys can score 150 tonight? They're like, yeah, come. And then I said, one of the seniors said, let's hold the opponent to under 100. I said, no. I said, you're not going to score 150 and hold them to under 100. I said, all you got to do is hold them to under 149 or, to 149. And they were like, oh, okay. So, I mean, when you say stuff like that, it's kind of shake your head, smile, like, I can't believe we're talking about like this. But then you go out and do it, and like you said, it's magical. It's fun. It's different. So,
Coaches, the one thing that every team needs is confident shooters. The last 8 years at Grapevine Faith, our teams have averaged 354 made threes each season. I love getting to share with coaches how our shooters train, and more importantly, how they think. If you would like to enhance your shooting culture at your school, contact me directly at jamodipodcast@gmail.com. Okay, so I think that's a perfect segue to the 200-point game. And I can't imagine how many times you've been asked about it or want to talk about it. I watched it with I had my son. We YouTubed and I watched it, but with him, and he couldn't believe the way the scoreboard looked, at the end and stuff. But so I loved. I saw an interview you did about right after the game,
right
in the locker room, almost by yourself, kind of that feeling that you had of what had just happened. But
yeah. So first of all, as you know, Matt, you can't prepare for that.
Right.
I mean, you can't say, let's go out and score 200 tonight. And I want to say this, it was against a team that we lost to the directly prior game to that. There's a conference team. We lost to them the game after we played 200. And we scored 200 in the middle. This team happens to run with us. Not every team runs with us. Like they had some athletes and they chose to continue to run with us. And so it's not going to happen unless the other team also continues to run and they don't give up. So like if they were to ever give up and put in players that you could tell were not part of the normal rotation, but they kept trying to score. They kept trying to score quickly. And so with about 6 minutes left, we had 170 some points. And I said, man, the holy grail of our system style is, can you score 200? I mean, Paul Westhead even said, George, there's one thing I don't like about you. I said, what? He goes, you already scored 200. I said, oh, no. But you can't recreate that. It will never happen again. I had a board member say, when are you going to score 200 again? I just laughed. I said, we're never going to score 200 again. I mean, maybe it could happen, but we didn't plan for it. We weren't playing, a weak team, areas of the plane or something that we paid to come in here and play. This was a conference team. They beat us probably, if we played them the last 5 times, they probably beat us 3 of the 5. But the point was they ran with us. And so with 173 points with about 6 minutes to go, I turned to my assistant and I said, as long as they keep running, we're going to keep running. As long as they keep trying to score, we'll keep trying to score. And so it got up to 198 with 10 seconds. This is where a couple of people questioned whatever, because we were beating them by 50. But they kept running. They kept coming back. They never put in their, subs. I mean, we were playing our normal rotations as well. Everybody had played in the game. And so it was 198 with 10 seconds to go. And it was their ball. And I said, timeout. We had just scored. And I said, guys, here's the deal. You're never going to get a chance to score 200 again, ever. And I don't care if you get it or not. But I want you to give yourself a chance to get it. I want you to take a shot at it. So when the ball comes in bounds, try to get a steal. If you don't get a steal, foul.
Yeah.
Just get the ball back. Give yourself a chance. If you don't get it, you don't get it. And the gym was, pretty electric with, okay, are they going to get 200? And so the ball came in bounds. We trapped. We couldn't get a steal, but we fouled. He missed a shot. We go down, and the kid, our really good point guard, shoots, misses, and another guy, I mean, he's like a 6-foot post player, tips it in, and I go, wow. And then I take my hands down quickly because I thought, I don't want to over celebrate. I mean, we did score 200. We crushed the other team, but I don't want to hurt their feelings. Well, as we got through the line, the other coach, he did well the first time through, but the second time he doubled back around and he, lit me up a little bit. And then, and I had some of their fans get on us a little bit. But we go to the locker room, and I told the kids, I said, you just went to the moon. Like nobody gets to go to the moon. Like you just did something that's pretty incredible. And later that summer, I called the coach and I said, "Hey, I don't know if you're still sore." He said, "I'm still pretty sore." And I said, "Well, can I get together and let's talk?" And so I went to Brooks Brothers, bought him a really nice tie. And I
Nice.
said, this is a peace offering. I said, maybe I misread the situation. You and I have been coaching against each other for 20 years. You beat me plenty of times. And, I thought against all the coaches that, in the conference that you may understand it. And maybe I misread the situation. But we talked through it. We arrived at a really good spot. And I think the fact that he's beat me the last couple of games, helps also soothe that. But it's just a unique situation. And another coach in our conference said, "Hey, maybe you should call all the coaches and say you're not going to score 200 again." I said, "I'd be glad to do that." Here's what I'm going to say. First of all, I'm going to say I'm never going to score 200 again. Second, I'm going to say I'm going to try every game to score 200. And he goes, "Oh, you're right." He goes, that's stupid. Like, yeah, it's just sort of a once in a lifetime thing that happens. And if it ever happens again, I would be shocked. I'd be a lot more shocked if it happened than if it didn't. So
yeah, but it does go back to that culture that you're asking them to do, which is to give you everything.
Yeah,
give you everything. See, you can't with that in reach. You can't look at your team that gives you everything every day and say, "All right, now less than your best."
Right,
you can't do that.
No, right. And so it was really fun. It was a senior day. It was pretty packed crowd, and 10 times out of 10, I would have done it again. And I told my assistant before, after that timeout with 10 seconds to go, I said, "I'm calling that timeout, and I want to give the kids a chance, and I'm not going to regret this."
Yeah,
that I did that. I know. I turned to him. I said, "I know I'm going to take some heat. I'm going to take maybe some national, heat." I mean, and it was a little bit. I mean, ESPN, a couple guys questioned it. It was mainly more of a fantastic story. 9 positives to 1 negative, but there was going to be some negatives, and it wasn't everybody's cup of tea. And
the quote unquote purists out there. Yeah,
I had friends call me from the East Coast to the West Coast that I haven't talked to since high school and said, "Oh my goodness, that's the team you're coaching, unbelievable." So it was fun, and it really is a conversation starter or piece. So yeah.
Changes in philosophy that you've had over the years. What's the one thing you would do differently if you could start over in coaching?
Wow, that's a good question. I'm trying to here's what I would do differently. It's not a lot. And the reason I say that is because I think I've sort of embraced this go for it, can do, risk-taking attitude my whole life. What I regret in coaching, I regret a couple of things. And it all has to do with relationships. So I had this young man. It was a great kid. He wasn't that great of a player. And it was maybe first or second year here. And we were in a close game, and it was a conference championship. But it was also senior. It was his senior day. And his parents had come in, and I didn't play him. I forgot to get him in the game. And I just regretted that so much. Like as the game was, as soon as it was over, I realized I did not play this kid in the game. And I wrote him a letter, and I apologized, and he totally forgave me. But, his family was there, his parents were there, and I had put so much emphasis on winning the game. It was a close game. And I can't remember if we won or lost. Isn't that funny? Yeah. But I do remember I didn't play the kid, and I felt terrible. And the reason I didn't play him is because, I could have inserted him in the first half or something, somehow, some way, but I just didn't do it. And there's been a couple other times where I've really scolded kids, and maybe they deserve it to a certain degree, but I was doing it more in a way that I felt like was probably more about me getting what I wanted and not teaching the kid from, a heart perspective. So those would be the things that I would have regretted. As far as playing style, or any other, bringing in the big time philosophy. No, I think when it's done and over, I'm going to say, yeah, I'd have done that 10 times out of 10. No problem. And if you don't like it, no problem. So I don't regret any of that. It's just sometimes when I think maybe I've neglected a player or hurt a player. One time I took a player out and he said, "You embarrassed me." And I said, "No, I didn't want to do that. I never went into coaching to embarrass anybody." And we won the game, but I was more concerned about my relationship with this kid than even winning the game. So that actually was a good situation. But it all comes down to, I don't want broken relationships.
Yeah.
I want kids to come back, 100% of them, and stay in touch, which fortunately, I'm so fortunate they have done. 100% of our players. Now, if they've left the school and then played for us for all 4 years, that's a little something different. But every kid that's graduated for me and kind of seen through the whole program, 100% have come back. And, we have great relationships. So I feel like that's important.
I thank you for sharing that. And I think it's important for myself and coaches to hear you say that. Yeah. Looking back, it's not more wins that you won or big moments that you wish you would have come out on top. It's the few of the failures that you had with relationships with players, right, and how much more of an emphasis we need to have on that ourselves now.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's right.
Well, Coach, are you ready for the speed round?
Okay, we'll go speed round. Yeah.
Speed round, about 30 seconds long. Quick questions. First thing that pops in your head, man.
Right.
All right. Favorite ice cream flavor?
Oh, I had a coconut chocolate chip the other night in Florida, and it was the best ice cream I've ever had at Kilwins. I realized I really like coconut. I didn't know if I did or I really like coconut and chocolate. So maybe second would be a mint chocolate chip.
Okay. I know the answer to this, but for high school, shot clock or no shot clock?
Well,
maybe I don't.
Yeah, I would say shot clock, just because I think that it would speed the game up, and I hate these 30 to 30 games. I hate those. Yeah.
Okay. You paused for a second and thought, oh, maybe.
The reason I paused is because the shot clock is so far removed from my brain. Right. I don't even know what that is.
Yeah. when we were trying to run the system, I found guys down 10-15 stalling.
I know.
To where I thought I never seen that. Like, I thought, if you're losing, you have to do whatever you can do to get back in. And they were. So anyway, that a little bit for me.
Let me make this comment. I know I'm going speed round, but I really like international rules, everything about it. I wish the United States would adopt that, because we feel like we're better than everybody else in the world. I would like for us just to play international rules, and that's 24-second shot clock for everybody.
Every level.
I like that. Yeah.
Yep. Texting or talking?
Talking.
Favorite holiday?
Christmas.
Invisibility or super strength?
Super strength.
place you most want to travel?
Oh, Rome, Italy. I just want to go to Italy. I want to go to the Mediterranean.
Nice. Yeah. How many cups of coffee do you drink per day?
Oh, not even every day, because I'm plenty high on life. But I will only have one. If I have one in the afternoon, I'm done. I'm staring at the ceiling at like midnight. So
yeah. On that note, how many hours of sleep do you need?
Well, you know what? I used to try to get by with less, but I really try to get about 7 or 7.5. And I think rest is really important, critical to your mind to renew it. So, yeah.
Last one, maybe most important: Godfather or Star Wars?
Godfather.
Okay.
That's a good one. I like that. But I like the resistance theme, good versus evil. But the whole Godfather, Italian family, coaching with Patino, that's kind of a fun, thing for me too. So yeah, I'll say Godfather.
Love that.
The language is bad, but anyways.
Yeah, the stories are great. Coach, this has been incredible. Yeah. I've wanted to meet you for a long time and talk with you, but thank you so much for sharing and just being real.
Yeah, Matt, you're so welcome. Thanks for having me, and best wishes to you and your team. And I'd love to hear how you're doing, and just thanks for your interest in our program and the system. And so best wishes to you as well.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the Jamodi Podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.